Hi there. We're going to be doing some remote sensing techniques using ArcGIS today. So I do have 4 bands for 2013 Landsat imagery of a particular study area, and I'm going to find band 2, which is blue, band 3, which is green, band 4, which is red, and band 5, which is near infrared, to be useful for my particular research. What I want to do today is to show you guys how to make a composite of these 4 bands to make it a whole multispectral image, whereby we could do all sort of things like land use classification, Ndvi for agricultural monitoring, and other stuffs. In this video I'm gonna just be doing a band composite of the 4 images, and to show you guys how to do different band combinations, and finally run an NDVI, which stands for Normalized Difference Vegetation Index. I know most of you guys must have heard of it. It shows the greenness of vegetation or the vigorness of vegetation. So with this kind of index model, you can be able to identify areas with high vegetation or healthy vegetation, and areas that are really doing very well. So you can imagine if you're an agriculturalist or you're a farmer, this index model can be very useful in terms of determining areas within your farm that are doing well and areas that aren't, and you can actually send the right help to the necessary places. And one thing to take note of is the resolution sizes. When you're looking at a small scale, or just 3,000 hectares or just 1,000 hectares, you want to consider what kind of resolution of data set you're using. Anyways, so I do have my 4 bands here, and they're all just the digital numbers. So this is just what you get from the satellite, and band 5 represents the near infrared, and vegetation actually reflects highly within this spectral band. And we do have the band 4, which is the red, and vegetation doesn't reflect that much within this band, but we do have things like built up areas and soils they actually do reflect highly within the red spectrum. So what we want to do here is, first of all, composite these bands, and secondly run an NDVI index on this to see what the vegetation within this area is looking like. So first of all, I can use different ways to do the same procedure, but what I like using is the image analysis window. If you do not have this, you should go to the Windows tab here, and you have image analysis. I do have mine already, and I docked it to the side of the screen for more space. So what you want to do first is to make sure you do have your bands arranged in a descending order. So I have it as 2, 3, 4, and 5. And what I'll do here is just click on the first band and hold on my shift key and click on the last one, and it's highlighted all of them. And you do have this icon here, it says composite band. You can go all through all of them, and it gives you a quick note on what a particular button does. So this is the composite band, and I just click on it, and it automatically creates a new composite band, as you can see here. And I can start playing with the different band combinations. I can start off by 3, 2, and 1, which means red, green, blue, which is the actual way we do see things with our naked eyes. But the good thing with remote sensing is you can actually do several band combinations and see what's beyond our eyes. And when you look into things like the near infrared, which is the band 4 here in this case, so if I do 4, 3, and 2, which is the near infrared, red and green, you see it gives us a kind of false color image, and the red areas represents vegetation, and this blue cyan color here represents built up areas. And you can do all sorts of band combination to derive different things depending on what you're looking at. If you're looking at things like moisture content in the leaves, you could want to have a look at the shortwave infrared, where moisture content do reflect a lot within that spectrum. So in this case, I do have my band composite, but one thing I don't have is this band composite as my permanent layer. So what this image analysis window does is it just creates a new composite band on the fly, and what you need to do is right click on the composite band and go to your data, export data, and now you're trying to export it so you can get a permanent file. I'll just send it to the right directory. I want it to go to my default geodatabase, add, and I'll give it a new name. I'll just leave it at composite. Yeah, composite, and I'll click on save, and it exports it to a permanent layer, so I can use it. And it's asking me, would you like to export to the data frame? Yes, I want to add it to my data frame, and I now can just delete this one and go on to the rest. Click on this one and hold on the shift, go down and remove all of them. I just like to see my table of contents very neat. So I do now have just my composite band here. Now what I want to do is I want to create an Ndvi index model, which is going to tell me how the vegetation within this study area is doing. So I want to see areas that do have high vegetation and healthy vegetation, go as low as areas without vegetation like bare soil or built up areas. And with this model I can be able to integrate it into several other suitability modeling, like determining areas, possible areas or potential areas of new farmlands, or areas to conserve the forest and stuff like that. So what I want to do now is to go back to the image analysis window, and when you click on the composite image, this button's turn on, and you see this one with a leaf. It says Ndvi. It has a leaf logo. Then you click on that and it automatically creates an Ndvi. But let me quickly talk about the Ndvi and how it works. So the formula for Ndvi is the near infrared minus the red divided by near infrared plus the red. So we are taking out what's not visible within the near, what's visible within the near infrared spectrum, and subtracting that from the red band and dividing it with the addition of both bands. And what that does is it takes out the reflectance value from the red band and allows us to see most of the reflectance from the near infrared, which is the vegetation in this case. So what I want to do here is go onto this little button at the top, the options button within the image analysis window, and I'm just going to quickly adjust this. So I want to tell GIS that my red band is not actually 4, it's 3, and my near infrared is 4. And I'm just gonna click onto the scientific output as my output. So don't use the wavelength, you should click on the scientific output and click on OK. And now we are ready to run the Ndvi button, and I'll just click on the Ndvi button, and here we do have a nice Ndvi which is just color coded in the black and white. If I just double click and go into the layer properties and I go to symbology, I can be able to do different kind of stuff with this. I can so it's saying I cannot classify because I haven't run a histogram on this. The reason why is because my Ndvi is not permanent layer. It's just there on the fly. I will need to export it just the way I did for the composite band, but well, I'll do that later. But for now we could just use the normal stretch, the normal color ramp, to give it some nice color so we can be able to see patterns within the area. So what this is saying is the areas with the red, maybe this isn't really a good color. Maybe I'll do a continuous color, like light green to dark green. So areas of light green are bare soil probably, or built up areas, as we can see here, and areas with the highest value of 0.40 which are the darkest green, are the areas with the highest vegetation. Now bear in mind, the NDVI is not telling you if it's a forest or if it's a farmland or whatever it is. It's left for the user to determine what he's looking at. So if you know you're looking at a farmland and you run an NDVI, so what you expect to see are crops that are growing better than the other ones. And when you're looking at a whole county or a state level or national level, regional level, you should be expecting to see different kind of vegetation. It could be woodlands, it could be broadleaf forest, it could be some cropland and stuff like that. So not necessarily that the highest vegetation is forest, not necessarily that the highest vegetation is cropland, and that's it. So you could do all sort of stuff with that. Keep in mind, this is not yet a permanent layer. If you want to keep it permanent, you can just go to data like we did and export data. So thank you very much for watching. If you do like this video, please hit the like button below. Thank you.